and they steal it, and it's rigged. It's not acceptable. We won this election, and we won it by a landslide. This was not a close election. This was a landslide.
Oh, it was a landslide indeed. Not. Thanks to our friends at the 11th hour for pulling that together, showing how Donald Trump was singing the same songs since Election Day, even after the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. In fact, as recently as last weekend. In his new book titled Landslide, The Final Days of the Trump Presidency, Michael Wolff details the chaos inside the White House at the end of the Trump administration and how the former president convinced himself that he'd won. Joining us now is Michael Wolff. Congratulations, Michael. So let's talk about the chaos. The chaos inside election night, let's say, when you write that Rudy Giuliani was telling the president that he won. What was happening there? Who was the president listening to? Why did he think he had won the election?
Well, one of the, I was going to say amusing or perhaps horrifying details is that when Rudy was trying to make this case, and he was sort of on the phone with the president, making the case to anyone he could, he was pulled aside by some of Trump's key aides, and he was pulled aside into at the White House, the China room. And at that moment, Rudy was incredibly drunk, weaving this way and that way. And, obviously that the China, those place settings from every president are very valuable. And and Trump's aides were obviously or rightly concerned about what Giuliani was saying to the president about the election and giving him this misinformation. But they were also concerned that he was going to break the China.
Literally break the China in the White House. You're also writing
yes, because he's weaving all. I mean, he was really drunk.
Right. That he was so irate when Fox News called Arizona for Biden, and they did it before the other networks did, and we were all mystified at the time, given our numbers. But Trump said, how can they do this? We're winning, and everybody can see we're going to win. So had he really persuaded himself he was winning at that point?
Yeah, no, I think he had. I mean, it's very strange to talk to Trump because certainly on this, actually, it's strange to talk to him about any subject, but particularly this, because he math. Numbers. Somebody had told him if something happened, then this would absolutely mean that he had won the election. And clearly this had happened while, in fact, so many other things had happened to make that irrelevant doesn't make any difference. He sticks, these things get into his head and they stick there and you cannot shake him.
And you write that he was so completely focused on the election challenges that all daily briefings, including national security briefings, were canceled.
Yeah, the White House, after November 3rd, the White House closed down, or at least the West Wing as the leader of the executive branch absolutely closed down.
So Mark Meadows, the chief of staff, was taking over and sort of running the country, supposedly running in a transition, which didn't take place. We know that. We were covering that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I must say for Meadows, I mean, there was somewhat of a saving grace that Meadows went around the president and contacted the Biden team and began at least the rudiments of a transition, which clearly the president had no intention of doing and was adamantly against. Why was the transition needed when he would be the president on January 20th.
When the Supreme Court, according to the book, refused to hear any aspect of the election challenge, the president, then Trump, blamed it on the 3 justices that he had appointed and specifically focused on Brett Kavanaugh. You write that Trump said, quote, "There were so many others I could have appointed and everyone wanted me to. Where would he be without me? I saved his life. He wouldn't even be in a law firm. Who would have had him? Nobody. Totally disgraced. Only I saved him." So that was a really explosive falling out. Why was he so incensed with Brett Kavanaugh?
Well, he was incensed because he believed that Kavanaugh owed him, essentially worked for him, and that when the time came, he would deliver for him. As a matter of fact, Giuliani throughout the election challenge kept saying it doesn't matter that we're losing in court, and they lost case after case after case after case, because when we get to the Supreme Court, it's in our pocket. You appointed these people. Obviously, they will decide in your favor. And Trump absolutely understood this and accepted this. This was the quid pro quo. He had put them on the bench, therefore they would vote for him. And particularly Brett Kavanaugh, who he had put on the bench despite widespread opposition. He had stood by him, so therefore, of course, Kavanaugh would come through with him. That's how things work in Trump world.
Well, it's a fascinating account of Trump's world in those closing days. Michael Wolff, thank you again. The book is Landslide: The Final Days of the Trump Presidency.